A reading from the Gospel of Luke. On one occasion, when Jesus was going to the house of a leader of the Pharisees to eat a meal on the Sabbath, they were watching him closely. When he noticed how the guests chose the places of honor, he told them a parable. When you are invited by someone to a wedding banquet, do not sit down at the place of honor, in case someone more distinguished than you has been invited by your host. And the host who invited both of you may come and say to you, "Give this person your place." And then, in disgrace, you would start to take the lowest place. But when you are invited, go and sit down at the lowest place, so that when your host comes, he may say to you, "Friend, move up higher." Then you will be honored in the presence of all who sit at the table with you. For all who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. He said also to the one who had invited him to dinner, "When you give a luncheon or a dinner, do not invite your friends or your brothers or your relatives or rich neighbors, in case they may invite you in return, and you would be repaid. But when you give a banquet, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind, and you will be blessed, because they cannot repay you, for you will be repaid at the resurrection of the righteous." The word of God for the people of God. You may be seated. Many years ago, my first wife's best college friend lived in a gated community outside of Dallas, Texas. There's some things inherent in that statement. I'll let you figure that out. Right? Now, we would on occasion take the drive down to Dallas to spend time with them, and they were very gracious to us, and they could be. They were both engineers in international companies. They had a lot of cash to spend, right? I was a hospital chaplain, and my first wife owned her own business and did not make a lot of money trying to keep that afloat. And so when we went down there, it was always an interesting thing for us about how much money the trip would cost us ultimately. And again, they were very generous. They would take us to things like, we would sit in the suite at the Dallas Stars game, right? They would take us to play games that we would never be able to afford to play on our own. And on one trip, we were invited to dinner with 4 other people, 2 of the other couples that they hung around with. And we went to this very expensive restaurant. Now, we were already having a little trouble figuring out, how we were going to do this. And then my wife said, she summoned me to the bathroom. I knew I was in trouble. And she said, I think we should pick up dinner. And I said, "What are you saying?" And so we stood in the bathroom stall trying to figure out if we had enough credit line on our credit card to buy dinner for all these people, because she felt compelled to reciprocate. So when I look at this story, this gospel story this morning, it is about all the things the gospel is always about, right? It is about the reign of God. It is about the upside down reign of God. It is about the last being first and the first being last. Right? It is about inclusivity, inviting more people to the table. But it's also about something else. Because one of the things that Jesus does in this gospel story today is that he tries to break the cycle of reciprocity that is inherent in his culture, and I would suggest is inherent in ours. And so what he's saying is, you who have a lot play games that not everyone can play. And of course, when you hold a banquet or you have a wedding, you invite people who you then expect to invite you to their banquet and to their wedding, right? Because you all swim in the same pond, you play in the same circles. And what he wants to do here is toss that on its ear. And so what this gospel offers us is a couple of things about reciprocity that I think are important for us, because we do the same thing, do we not? I was at a coffee shop, and there was two women sitting next to me at the table, and the one who came in last came in bearing a little gift bag, you know. And the other woman immediately said, "Oh my gosh, I didn't get you anything," right? Isn't this what we do? Somebody got me a Christmas gift, now I got to go shopping, right? Because there is this sense that we have to repay. And a sense that when we give a gift, that we're owed a little something. Now, we like to think we're above this, but I'm going to call us out. So, for example, how many times, and maybe this isn't true for all of us, but many of us, we hesitate to give the guy outside, the unsheltered person outside the coffee shop a couple of bucks because we don't know what he's going to do with it. I'm not giving my money to somebody who's just going to go down to the liquor store, right? It's not a gift if it has conditions on it. It's not. It's a contract that the receiver didn't even know they were in. We do it in the church too, do we not? Well, I'll give my money. You know where I'm going to go with this, right? I'll give my money to the thing I care about. I'll give my money to the endowment fund I like. And I'll give my money as long as everybody does the things the way I want them to do them. There's a price. There's a condition. In which case, my friends, it's no longer a gift. Right? And so these things we have to look at about how and what we expect in our relationships with each other. What would it mean to actually give and let go of what happens with the gift we just gave? Because that's what giving is really about. And that's that sense of reciprocity. Even if it's not, I expect you to give me money back, it can also mean I expect you to do the thing I expect you to do with the thing I just gave you. And there's no grace in that at all. And even this other piece about who we're inviting into our social circles, right? Now, most of us, we throw a dinner party, we're not going to go down and ask the unsheltered person on the corner to join us. Even if we probably should, we're probably not going to. That's a little tough, isn't it? That's a little more discomfort than most of us are willing to bite off. So let's make it easier. Let's start right here. How many of you, I wonder, when you came into church today, sat in the pew you always sat in and didn't talk to anybody you've never talked to before? When you look around the space, how many people are blind to you? You have no idea who they are, or if you know who they are, you don't know very much about them because you always sit in the same pew. It might have your name on it. It certainly probably has the size of your behind in it, right? And the same will be true when we go downstairs to celebrate Jess with us. You will go to your honored table that you always go to with your honored guests that you always sit by, because I know you people. I've met you all before. This is my first rodeo. I know how this works, right? Because that's what we do. But it's not what we're supposed to do. You know, we can sit in here, and God knows I preach it all the time, and I get a lot of amens, mostly silent. We got to work on that. But I get a lot of amens from the congregation when we preach about bringing the reign of God to the world. And my friends, we got to get it settled here first. Because what the reign of God looks like is that you sit down at a table with people you don't normally talk to. Because you want to be changed by someone new. Because you want to be opened up to a new experience. Because you believe that the reign of God is present in each and every one of them. Because you believe that all of us are made in the image and likeness of God. And every time that we sit down knee to knee with someone we don't normally sit down next to, and we have a conversation, more of God is revealed to us. And who doesn't want a little more Jesus? Where's my little Jesus? Right? We can't bring the reign of God to the world until we figure out how to act it out here with each other. And this is the first simple, not easy, but simple step. It's to recognize that when we are invited to give, whether it's our money, our time, our talent, when we are invited to give, we are invited to give with no strings attached. To trust that God is going to do with that gift, through the people we give it to, what needs to be done. It is an act of faith and an act of trust, and it's true generosity. That's the first thing. So first we have to deal with our own sense of privilege about the gifts we give. And again, that might mean that we sit on a committee where a decision gets made we don't like. It might mean that we go down to coffee hour and we think the whole thing was a disaster, even though we were part of the planning team, right? There's a lot of ways this plays out. And relationally, who are the blind and the lame and the poor among us because we are blind to who they are, because we've never moved our own muscles to walk over to them to develop a relationship or to initiate one. The ones that are poor in relationship because they don't have as many friends here as we do. That's our job. That's what it means to build the reign of God one little piece at a time. And we can't even begin to seriously consider how we're going to bring the reign of God to the world if we're uncomfortable doing it here, in the place that we love, with the people that we love, in the place that is safe. So here's the invitation. It's quite simple. Again, hard, but hard's not bad. It's just hard. Here's the invitation. Open your hands when you give and don't expect anything. I mean, nothing. Don't even expect anybody to do really good stuff with it, because that's not why you gave it. You gave it because you need to. And the second thing, open your honored table to some unhonored guests. And let's start building the reign of God here. Let's get serious about creating real community here, and then see what happens. Amen.